to the Real Kiz Podcast. Today I have a very special guest with me, dancer relationship on Instagram, Marianne from Germany. She is a former dance teacher and now she is a relationship coach. And if you've seen her content on Instagram, it is all about how dance mirrors our relationship to each other, to life, to ourselves. It is really amazing stuff, and I have been obsessed with Marianne's content since she first started posting it, and I'm so happy to have her on the podcast today. And we have a really interesting topic to discuss today. We're going to talk about masculine and feminine energies. But before we get into that, I'm going to let Marianne introduce herself a little further. So Marianne, how did you get started in doing all of this? How did your Instagram page come about?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot, Anna, for the invitation. I'm really excited to be here with you, to talk with you about all these topics. And sharing just a great conversation and spreading some words. Well, how did I start it? Everything what I share is my own experience. So I started dancing 7.5 years ago, directly with partner dancing. And quickly, after really a few weeks after I've started, I faced personal challenges. And then I was observing a very strange behavior of myself I've never saw before. And then talking with some really close friends, and then I came into this personal development area. And then I've noticed, something is off here. So this is the reason I'll get started actually. So after a few months I've started to dance. I was diving into the personal development area. A few months then later also in relationship theory. And I used partner dance to face all my insecurities and to face my fears. And then I was evolving from a dance teacher, because I was teaching kizomba or urban kiz for quite a long time, 5 years. And then I was evolving to a relationship coach after a lot of trainings and mentoring programs, and with the help also with my own coaches and mentors.
Wow. So it sounds like you have put a lot of work into yourself and also into learning everything that you're sharing with the social media community right now. Well, thank you so much for doing that, because I know so many people are benefiting from it and loving your content. So thank you for investing into yourself, and now you're investing into, the entire dance community.
It's really my passion behind it, to just spread what helped me, becoming more secure and trustworthy in myself, and to enjoy more the dance. It doesn't matter if it's partner dance or solo dance, to just really shift from thinking into feeling, being more present, being more aware, accepting myself more, and also becoming more secure also in my relationships. I'm very grateful as well that I took this challenge, because I see the benefits now, that my whole life was changing into good. So all my relationships as well in my private life has changed to better. And this is I just want to share this with other people, because I know what is behind, and what is the present. So the present as the gift, when you do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for doing that, because it is so relevant, especially turning off your brain and not to overthink, because that's what it really is. It's the overthinking that kind of ruins dance for us sometimes. And really just feel into our heart, feel into our bodies. And so many people struggle with that. I know so many people take substances to help them get out of their heads and into their bodies. And we shouldn't need to do that. We should be able to do that without any substances. And then you mentioned having secure relationships. That is also so important. Like having secure attachments, to everyone in our life, not just romantic partners. That is so great. Like everyone needs that. Okay, well, let's dive into our topic for today, which is masculine and feminine energy. I've seen you do a reel about that. And I thought it would be a really great topic to talk about because I know in Kizomba we have the dance roles, but then I feel like there are also these gender roles. And the men tend to be very masculine, and the women, well, I think the women, it's not as stringent. Like you have really feminine women, then you have women that are sporty, you could say, sporty spice, and then you have non-binary. So I wanted to explore the concept of the masculine, feminine energetics. Do we all have both? What can you share about that?
So when it comes to masculine and feminine energies, it's just behavior. It's a characteristic. It's a label to understand more how you show up. So that is what I first want to mention. It's not about gender. It's really about how you relate to yourself and how you relate to the outside world. So we often, yes, that's true, we often identify the feminine more with the woman. And we often identify the masculine more with the man. It comes also from the nature. It's evolving over, millions of years. So, and it's really the behavior we have. And so yes, actually we have both, because we have both behaviors. We can have both characteristics. So when it comes to the masculine part, we often think about it, it's more the protection part, it's more guiding, initiating, planning, all these what we actually identify with the leader when you think about also as a team lead in your in a job, in a working field. Then a leader is planning, is structuring, is organizing. So it's leading the team. So this is more the masculine part. So actually, yes, we can have, also women can have these characteristics. Because when you're a team lead in your job, so when you're owning a company, when you're running a business, well, you need to think ahead. You are more strategical. You need to plan. When it comes to feminine energy, we often identify the characteristics with soft, receiving, intuitive, more flowy, more emotional. And this is often identified with women, yes. And now it's the easiest way how to link to this is, for example, to a mother. When a mother gets a baby, of course, she's very soft to that baby. And also, she's very intuitive as well, because the baby cannot speak. So we just feel what that baby needs.
Yeah, so the mother is very in tune with the baby's behavior and emotions and its cries. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, and of course in the past we had more gender-specific roles. We were in the traditional families where the father is going to work, earn money, and the mother is taking care of the children at home. It was more seeable. Of course, now we are evolving as human beings, and we switch, of course, the roles. So also more women were then allowed to earn money and go working. And now also the fathers, so the men, they can stay at home with the children. So the world is a bit changing, and naturally we adapt as human beings. And to great changes, of course, right? So also to human rights, to women rights, and also then to men rights. So yes, we can have both.
Okay. So you mentioned how women can display masculine characteristics when they are team leader at their job, when they have to plan ahead and strategize and take the lead and take charge. But how do feminine energy manifest in men? How do men show and display the feminine energies?
For example, when they are very receiving as well, when they're in tune to their emotions. This is what is a very relevant characteristic of feminine energies, when we are in tune into our emotions. When we are soft, So when a man is soft, for example, when a man is also caring, when I'm in a relationship, or in dance, it doesn't matter now. And I, as a woman, for example, I feel not safe. So I try to protect myself because I feel not safe now. Because I'm getting angry, I shout, I run away, anything else. So this is then how I behave when I don't feel safe. Now, when the man is in tune to their masculine energy, but also to the feminine energy, of course, the man can see, okay, she doesn't feel safe. So first of all, he just sees it. So he becomes then also more soft and also gives then protection. So he doesn't take it personally. He just becomes more in tune also with his own emotions, but also with her, and give then the safety. So this is then also in tune with both masculine and feminine energy. But also when it comes then to emotions, to hold space for the emotions of the woman, of course the man also needs hold space to his own emotions.
Yeah, and I know that is so hard for so many men to do, is to feel their own emotions, understand and label their own emotions, and just to sit with their own emotions.
Yeah, it is, yes, because it also was based on culture, right? Culture and society, that men need more strength, and showing emotions was labeled as weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. That was going to be one of my questions, is how does culture play into men displaying feminine energy or holding space for their feminine energy and women owning their masculine energy? Are there cultures that are more accepting of the combination of the two energies in one gender than others?
I would say yes. Yeah, I would say yes. So I know, for example, I have Russian roots, so it's more the Eastern culture, and there, what I experienced, but also what I heard from stories, of course, from my parents, from their parents, it was more that the man is more the strong part, holds the family together, and weakness, especially when it comes to being sad or when you are not able to do something, so you're not capable to do something, then it's labeled as weakness, right? And the man often needs to be the strongest. You're not allowed to be weak. You're not allowed to just also be tired and everything. No, you go for it, no matter what it costs. So I think this is based on culture and society. And in general, we have still this split of man and woman, right? And don't cry. It's often what boys get told. Don't be mad. Be a nice girl. This is often what girls be told. So we have directly these labels of how should women be, girls, because it's often what we learned in our childhood. So how should a girl be and how should a boy be? So what we think this ideal type of man and woman should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of men have been taught that it is unacceptable for them to have this feminine energy inside them and then to act on it. Now, this actually makes a lot of sense, because when you think about it in terms of dance and in terms of leading and following, I used to think that men did not like following because they didn't want to dance with other men because of, internalized homophobia. But now I think that maybe it's not homophobia at all. Maybe it's just that they don't know how to be in their feminine, because in order to follow, you must be in your feminine. And that is what men have trouble with when it comes to following. And maybe that's why they don't like following. I know not all of them. I know that now more and more men are starting to follow. which shows that they can be in their feminine and they can be comfortable being in their feminine, but still not all of them.
Yeah, it's change. It's a change, definitely. And I like this change because it gives you also more understanding for the other role. And I think even for men, it's more difficult to be in their feminine energy than for women to be in their masculine energy. So it's also
absolutely, yeah, for sure.
I think it's also our responsibility as a woman to support our men that it's allowed to be in their feminine. But also, I just wanted to add that it's also allowed for us to be in our feminine. So we as a woman, because also I see nowadays that a lot of women are also in their masculine energy and are afraid to really live in their, to embody their feminine energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like women also have trouble following when they are in their masculine energy because they're like alert, they want to be in control, they can't surrender, they're scared of losing control, and that is what prevents them from truly being able to follow and enjoy the dance. So how can women really lean into their feminine? And also, how can men feel safe being in their feminine? And how can women encourage men to do that? Or is it more so that they need permission from other men to be in their feminine?
Well, of course, it depends, of course, on the society and the culture, yes. And if more people would change, of course, it's way more easier for others to follow, definitely. But well, I often encourage people, no matter what the outside is doing, just to focus, of course, okay, do I want to be more in my feminine? Do I want to be more in my masculine? If yes, okay, then I focus on myself. What holds me back? Because when it comes to femininity and masculinity, then it's your own relationship to femininity and masculinity. So that means your own relationship to woman and man. Because when we go back to nature, so femininity represents woman and masculinity represents man. So then to connect more to the feminine side and masculine side, I would ask myself, what is my relationship to woman and what is my relationship to man? And this is very unconsciously. So often we are not aware of our own relationship to woman and man, because this is shaped also by our experience and our emotional experience, what we experienced with woman and with man in our past. And the first woman and the first man we had a connection with our father. So this goes very, very back into our early childhood. So, and then how is my relationship to my own mother and how is my relationship to my own father? Because we often hear that when we talk about woman or man, we often hear things like men all want to say, right? When we experience, for example, close relationships or in general experiences with men. Or I often was hearing things like, oh, women, they don't like each other, they're jealous of each other and everything. So when you, of course, have this relationship with man and woman, directly your relationship with femininity and masculinity. So if I'm thinking bad about man, well, then I'm not embodied healthy masculine energy. And if I'm thinking bad about woman, I cannot embody healthy feminine energy. So to connect again to your masculinity, to your femininity, it's just to be aware, how do I think about women and men in general? How do I relate to women and men in general? And then what holds me back from a very good relationship to them? So what is holding me back? What did I have experienced in the past that I now have these negative thoughts about women and men?
That makes a lot of sense. So bringing it back to dance, now I'm thinking that the way that a man treats a woman during the dance as he's leading her is a subconscious way of, like, a manifestation of his relationship with his father.
So yeah, I love bringing the context, feminine energy and masculine energy into the dance, into the partner dance, because in partner dance, it's so visible. It's so clear and you see it directly. Because when the man, so when the leader, is not starting the dance, well, the dance will not start because the leader is the one who initiates. And on the other hand, if the follower to receive the leader's guidance and also then, of course, do their own steps, yes, but if the follower doesn't receive, then also the dance doesn't continue. So if the follower tries to control, for example, so if the follower wants to initiate, then it turns into a struggle, into a fight. And when no one starts to do the first step, for example, then the dance will never start. So, and that's the reason why I love bringing feminine energy and masculine energy to the partner dance, because you see it, it's so clear. In my point of view, I have never seen any other hobby or also gender specific hobby where you can see this so clearly. Even sometimes not in a relationship, you cannot see this so clear as in a partner dance.
Yes, and even when two people of the same gender are dancing together, so when two men are dancing together, one of them has to be in their masculine and one of them has to be in their feminine. And also when two women are dancing together, the woman that's leading has to be in her masculine, and the woman that's following has to be in her feminine. And I've heard that from some people who say that they don't like dancing with women because they don't feel the same way that when they dance with men. So they're not getting that same masculine energy of, like decision, assertion, clarity, like they feel safe in that container with a woman if a woman is not in her masculine when she's leading.
Yes, I totally understand this because I've experienced this as well.
So then the polarity is always necessary.
Yes, totally. The polarity, the duality is necessary.
In both partner dance and in romantic relationships.
I would go even further. In life, duality and polarity is necessary, yes.
But men also need to be in their feminine at times in order for the relationship to work. So like when a woman is sharing her feelings, a man has to be open to receive that. So does that count as a man being in his feminine, or how does that polarity work in romantic relationships?
Yeah, when you think about the characteristic, and holding space does mean also holding space, of course, to someone else's emotion directly is linking that you hold space for your own emotions. So in a relationship is when I as a woman am sharing my feelings. So for example, how anxious I am right now and what I need to feel safe again in my relationship. So, and a man who's connected to also healthy feminine energy can hold space for emotions. He's not pushing the emotions away. So he doesn't make the woman feel bad about expressing her emotions because he can hold space for this.
So then in that instance, are they both in their feminine?
I mean, they are connected to they embody their feminine energies. This is kind of a behavior, a general behavior. It's not that I'm in my masculine, now I'm in my feminine. It's not that like a clear boundary. So if I'm connected to my feminine energy, my masculine energy, this is just how I show up in general. So it's like a general behavior.
And what about people who identify as non-binary? So they don't identify as, male or female. They say they're non-binary or gender fluid. How does masculine and feminine energies work inside them? Or how do they express both of their masculine and feminine energies? Or is it easier for them to express both because they just flow fluidly between gender characteristics?
I think it's the same. When you think about they are just behavioral characteristics, then you don't need to be a woman or you don't need to be a man, right? It's just a characteristic in how you show up. So non-binary is you can also express your emotions. You can plan, you can think. You can be more in tune with your emotions, you can allow your softness, you can embrace your softness. So either if you're gender independent, so when we think about it's just a characteristic and how you show up, then you don't need to identify with a gender. So that's why I would always say it's just a label to understand your behavior.
Okay.
But I would not use this
sense.
label as an excuse or as a shield.
Okay. As an excuse to justify behavior.
Yes, exactly. Or to control others.
What about movement? Is movement gendered or does it have masculine and feminine energy? Because I saw this post that was saying how people shouldn't call styling specifically lady styling because styling is just styling and a man or a woman can do that. And then I had a male friend send me a DM about it saying how he would never go to a styling class that is taught by a woman because she's teaching feminine movement and he does not want to learn feminine movement because he's a masculine man.
Interesting. A very interesting post that movements are now linked to gender and masculine and feminine energy is interesting. I really like that question. Well, so when it comes to I would call it symbols, okay? Let's call it symbols. And then I would transfer it to movements. So once I was reading a text about symbols and masculine and feminine energy, and it described it that the feminine energies are more round and the masculine energies are more straight. In my point of view, it also makes sense when you think about the characteristics again, and when we think about softness. I would also think about when it's soft, it's more round. When it's more planning, it's more straight. So in my point of view, it makes sense. So when we transfer this to movement, yes, then we can definitely see some patterns here. Because when I'm moving, then I use a lot my hips, for example. And hips are more linked to feminine energy as well. It's also how we are shaped. I mean, the body is shaped differently for men and for women. We have more curves. That's our nature. And I think it's beautiful that women have more curves. So I would encourage every woman to embrace also her curves more. So yeah, when you think about this, then I can understand totally, and I can relate to this. Yeah. Then we have more the hip movements and also this flowy and this more roundy moves, maybe linked to also feminine energy, and also more. I would also say more sensual, because sensual is also being sensual is also a characteristic of feminine energy. And when you think about sensual moves, well, then it's also more slow, because slow, my point of view, when you think about slowness, then you think more about, okay, sensual. Everything becomes slower and easy. Yeah.
Dessert.
Yes. Kind of, yes. It doesn't need to be still, but yeah. You can also make a very slow body wave. And it becomes directly more sensual. As fast, to compare to fast.
Okay. So can the same move be done in a feminine way, so slower and rounder? And then the same move can be done in a masculine way, so fast and sharp and straight.
Yeah, I would say yes, yeah. Exactly what you described. It's more slow, more round, and the masculine way is then more sharp and straight and fast.
Okay, that just makes me think of Urban Kiz is very masculine and Douceur is very feminine. Or Tereshinha is very feminine.
Yeah, yes, it is. Tarashinya definitely, because you use your hips a lot, right? You use your hips a lot in Tarashinya, yes. It's more really in the upper body. And hip movements are feminine, yes, they are. And they are beautiful.
And the way that the man leads can also be masculine or feminine. So with Urban Kiz, when he's leading fast and sharp movements, then it's very masculine. But in Tarahina, when he's leading, slow body rolls and subtle, small body movement, that's very feminine.
Yeah.
So is that a good example of a man being in his feminine?
Yeah, I would say this is a very good example, yes. And also, you can be also in your feminine when you dance Urban Kiz. In my point of view, let's say we dance Urban Kiz and it's a fast song. But still, you are aware of your follower. You listen to your follower's cues and you are still connected to your own body movements, to your own emotions. Then in my point of view, then you're also connected to your feminine energy.
So you're connected to your feminine energy through your follow, being in tune with your follow.
Yes, in my point of view, yes. If you are aware how your follower responds, you take care of your follower, you see your follower, you hold space for your follower. Yes, and you're also receiving from your follower, yes. Of course, it's more easy to compare this with a slow song, yes. Then it's more visible in Douceur or Tarashinya. It's just more visible. But it doesn't mean that when we dance Urban Kiz, a fast song, or a very, very hard Tarasho song, that you're not connected to your feminine energy. It's just not that visible.
I don't know. When I see some men dancing Urban Kiz, they're not even looking at their follower. They are looking down on the floor. They're watching their feet. They're not even looking up to check with the follow. And to me, that's, I don't know, is that very masculine? It seems so.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there are a lot of things. They need to do a lot of things, right? The leader needs to do a lot of things during a dance. Maybe they're insecure. Maybe they're learning a new step. Maybe they're overwhelmed by everything. So this is also what can be. So how it can look like. So just because a leader doesn't look in your eyes doesn't necessarily mean he's not in his masculine energy. So, for example,
you mean he's not in his feminine energy? If he doesn't look into your eyes?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Because just based on one situation, I would not evaluate this.
Okay.
So I can give you an example. I would say my boyfriend can hold my emotions. Definitely. And I'm very connected to my emotions. I can sometimes express my emotions very, very strongly. So he can definitely hold my emotions. So I'm very grateful for this, actually, that I have a boyfriend who can hold my emotions. But sometimes when we dance, because he's also a dancer, he's so in his head because he also wants to be good when we're dancing. He just also wants to impress me when we dance. So he tries to think a lot about it. So this is also what I also really want to hear mentioned, that just because a leader maybe thinks more in that one dance, more about himself than about the follower, doesn't necessarily mean he's not connected to feminine energy. So it needs more than one situation.
Yeah, so He's just maybe not connected to his feminine energy at that moment.
He has, I would say, his priority in this moment is something else.
Okay. Is the goal for everyone to freely move between masculine and feminine energies as needed, and to also be aware of which energy they are currently embodying and which energy they would like to embody, and then shift into that energy?
I think if you are aware of it and you can shift it, perfect. And also balance. I think a balance is really important. There are roles you need directly to step into one of these energies to really have the best outcome. Like again, in partner dance, you see this. So as a follower, you need to let go. You need to give trust to your leader. You need to receive. Because if you are more controlling, it will be not an harmonious dance.
And how can follows do that more? Besides, you mentioned evaluating their relationship with their father, because that is probably how they relate to the lead, is the same way that they relate to their father. So aside from being aware of that relationship, are there any other tips, tricks for a woman to be in her feminine more?
Yeah, first of all, become aware where you struggle. For example, when it's really about receiving. So one characteristic in feminine energy is to receive something. So when a woman, for example, is doing a lot of things by her own in her private life, then maybe she has struggled to receive. And maybe also she has a hard time to trust others doing the job. So one step to just change this is asking for help. Okay, I have to, first of all, to become aware. Okay, I'm struggling to give tasks to others. I'm doing everything alone. So how can I change this? Well, I do the opposite. I ask for help. So when I'm asking for help, then I expand my capacity. I'm growing out of my comfort zone. And I show myself I can receive. I'm allowed to receive. Or also when others are offering something to you as a woman, you're allowed to say yes to that offer. You don't even need to ask. I'm sure there are tons of opportunity in your life where other people offering you help, and you need just to say yes. I'm taking this help now. I'm saying I'm receiving it, and I'm allowed to receive. This is also how I trained actually my feminine energy as well. There was a time when I commit to myself, okay, I'm receiving now. And I got a lot, and then I paid attention. And I got a lot of offers. Normally I would say no to these offers, and then I said yes. So I trained also my mind that to make new experiences of receiving, and that receiving is good, and actually I like it, receiving. I enjoy receiving. So I make new experiences of receiving, and then I directly train my mind receiving is actually good. I can trust others. So yeah, we can all just ask for help. This is really small steps, and I'm sure we have people everyone has people in our life they love.
Well, I know I will personally practice that going forward. So
Great.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to add about masculine and feminine energies? Anything that I didn't ask you that you wish I did?
I just like this topic a lot, and as I said in the beginning, for me it's just a label to understand our behavior better in partner dance and also in romantic relationships. But I would not use this label as a shield for as an excuse for my behavior or others' behavior. I would always ask myself, okay, what do I want in my life? how do I can get better in following, how do I can get better in leading, and what is necessary to take this step. How can I practice these behaviors and these characteristics to get better if I choose to it. And yeah, that's all actually.
That is very good and really good things to keep in mind and remind ourselves. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, Marianne, Dance a Relationship on Instagram. Check out her page, check out her work. I know she does coaching, one-on-one coaching, maybe small group coaching as well. So I know that she's doing things. So send her a DM, let her know you want to work with her, and let us know what you think about this topic. All right, well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you, Annabelle. Thanks a lot for the invitation.